Welcome back guys, this is Srikant. Today we are going to talk about second NF, that's the second normalized form. In this video we are going to talk about all the different rules which are required to make a table into second NF. Okay, let's talk. So to make a table in a second NF, it should be in a first NF first of all. So we can't directly jump into the 2NF. So first we need to make a table into the first NF. That's it needs to follow all the 4 rules. So this is fine. So we don't have doubt so far. Point 1, and there should not be partially dependency. So partial dependency come into the picture when we go and when we have the composite key in a table. So what is composite key? More than one column if we are using to make a primary key, then we could say it's a composite primary key or a composite key. And the key which are left over, those key we called it as a non-key column, and the keys which are a part of the composite key are called as the key columns. Okay, so there should not be partial dependency. Means if we have 3 columns in a table, out of these 3, 2 are the part of the composite key and 1 is not a part of the composite key. So that non-key column should be depend on the both the key column which are part of the composite key. In that case we would say it's a fully dependent. But if the non-key column is only depend on a single column or a part of the composite key, right, or any column basically, then I would say it's a partially depend on the primary key. In that case we could say it's a partially dependent. So a table should not have the partial dependency. These are the simple rules. Now in this one we need to consider a third important thing is that if required we need to removing a subset of data that is applicable to multiple rows into a table and placing them in a different table. So another thing is that there should not be partial dependency, that's fine. Then removing a subset of data that is applicable and to make that and to place that data in a separate table. And join them back with a relation. So now actual part start here. As I said, normalization is the process of making small table and making them join, right, if you remember. So now actual splitting part would start. In this second NF, if there are a redundant data we see and we feel that these are a repetitive subset and which we need to have in another copy, so we will create another different table and then finally we'll join them back. Okay, to consider or to understand the second NF, I'm going to consider the example which we already seen in the earlier video. So this is the data set I have discussed with you. In this data set we do have the 3 columns and this data is not in normalized form. So first we make this data in normalized form and all the rules for the first normalization are applied, and now this data is in the first normal form. Okay, now we have this data. Now we are okay with the first one. And second, there should not be partially dependency. In this one, I could say there is no uniqueness in this one, and I don't see any unique column there because student number and student name is same and courses C#, right? So if I'll try to make a primary key or the composite key for this one, student number and the student name, I can't make the combination because these 2 values are repeated 3 times here. So if I want to make the key for this, then I should use the entire 3 columns. Okay, now there basically just think about is there any partial dependency? No, then that's fine. There should not be partial dependency. Partial dependency, hope you understood. For example, these 2 columns are there and these 2 columns are the part of the composite key, and this one column which is a non-key column is only dependent on the part of the key. Let's say student name for example, and it is not dependent on the student number. It does not need to worry about what exactly the student number was, right? So this is called as a partial dependency. But in this case we don't have such problem here, there should not be a partial dependent, then that's fine. We will move to the third one. Removing subset of data that is applicable to place data into separate table and join them back with relation. So in this one I could see the student number and the student name, it look quite similar to me. I would say the student underscore number and the student name needs to be placed in another table. So what exactly I'm going to do? I'm going to place this data into another table. Let's say student. Here I'm going to add a column called as student underscore no and the student name. Here one, the first student and the name for the first student is Shrikant. Another is second one and his name is Sam, right? So this is the table. I called it as student and only this to record. Now, as per definition, removing subset of data. I feel this is a redundant data, so I am splitting this data into a separate table, okay, and join them back with relation. Now, I have this column. What I am going to do here? I am going to add here columns student ID. This is basically the key column of the student table, and I'm going to add another column, let's say courses, and here I'm going to map the data. See, now we just map this one. So C# first record belongs to the student name 1 and Shrika, right? So I'm just placing here 1. This is for belongs to 1. This is also belongs to 1, and this is belongs to 2. Now this table is in the second normal form. Why? Because it followed the first NF, because it is in the first NF, and there should not be partial. Yeah, this table doesn't have any partial dependency, and we removed the subset of data from the first NF and we make a separate tables, and finally we join them back. So we created these two table, basically student and the student info, I would say, right? So this is the join. So in this one, these are the two new table has been created from this table. I converted 1 NF to 2 NF with this one. So I would say this is in the first norm. Sorry, yeah, I would say this is in a second normal form. This is quite easy, right? Just to understand, partial dependency means a column which is depend only a part of the composite key, that is called as a partial dependency. And to make the relation in the second NF, there should not be partial dependency. See, if there is a non-key column, it should be fully dependent on the whole key, right? That is what called as the dependency. And if we want to make the table into 2NF, then we need to remove a subset of data and place into one table, and then we need to join with them back with a relation. This is the one. So in this video we talk about 2NF. In next video we are going to talk about 3NF. Hope that will be helpful, and thanks for watching. Have a great day ahead.